Well, welcome everyone again to another episode of Nutrition Secrets for Fighting COVID-19. And I am here with Lisa Thorman once again. Good to see you, Lisa.
Hi, how are
Hey,
you?
we appreciate you making time in your schedule to do this demonstration. And I know you and your husband are in the process of getting things together and transitioning to another state. So this is a blessing that you can join us and that we can dive once again into practical health secrets that can really make a difference with our immune system, our strength, our energy level. I know last time you covered gut health and how the flora that's within us, bacteria-wise that is, can be developed and really make a real difference in how we feel, but also in how our lives pan out as well, not only physically, but mentally. So I'm looking forward to the practical side of what you're going to show us as far as a recipe and how you're going to cover the following points that you had mentioned last time and kind of round it out there. So this will be great. I'll hand it off to you at this point and pin your video up to the screen so you can present. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, last week we talked about the first of the 4 pillars of living longer and immunity. We talked about eating well. And just as a quick little recap, we talked about how you have a good microbiome equals good immunity. If you have a bad microbiome, bad immunity. And we talked about how all diseases start in the gut because 70% of our immune system lives in the gut. And so there's a direct link between diet, your gut health, and immunity. It's very important to be healthy in your gut in order to stay healthy during this COVID-19.
Absolutely.
And 97% of Americans are not even getting the minimal requirements of fiber. So that's why we see all of these diseases, you know, cancers and chronic diseases, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all of these diseases start in the gut. So the conclusion we came up with last time was that we need to eat a diversity of the rainbow because the microbes are picky eaters, remember that?
And yes, that's right.
They like to eat fiber. They like to eat plants. So we need to feed them lots of good plants. So I thought today as we start that I would just do a quick little demonstration. It's a fast, easy recipe that's wonderful for the summer. And it's called zucchini burgers. They're my favorite personal burgers. And we have them often in the summer because I have my own garden and we have lots of zucchini. And we're always looking for ways of trying to use up our zucchini, right? We always have too much. And the neighbors don't want them all. So this little recipe uses lots of zucchini. And by the way, it freezes really well too. So sometimes I will make a big batch, like double or triple it, and then I'll freeze them. Then I'll have them for several weeks. So I'm going to put the camera down here so you can see.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you. Okay. I'm going to show you this little recipe that I'll share with you, and you can share with your on the video too. So these are zucchini burgers, and just before we started here, I processed this zucchini so it's very fine, and so we start with that. We're going to start with zucchini, very fine, and then I like to put this beef seasoning. I use this kind. There's several different kinds, but this is the one that I use, the Vegetarian Express. So I'm going to put in a tablespoon of this beef seasoning, and that's kind of it gives it a good flavor. And it also helps to kind of draw out the liquid out of the zucchini because it has good salt and things like that in it. So I stir that up a little bit.
Okay.
And then typically I'll let it set for 10 or 15 minutes while I'm processing the onions and walnuts.
Just to let it marinate a little bit there, huh?
That's correct. That's correct. Today, I already, just to save time, of course, I already did the walnuts and onions. And again, I processed them pretty small in my food processor. You don't want any big clumps or big pieces because, you know, when you go to make the burgers, they kind of fall apart more easily. So I'm going to add here the onions and the walnuts that I processed together. And next, the recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast flakes. Now, if you're not opposed to using nutritional yeast flakes, then go ahead and use those. They have a good flavor, adds a good flavor. However, I'm trying to not use nutritional yeast flakes right now because they're very processed and they have something called excitotoxins. And those are not very good for people with Parkinson's. Since my husband has Parkinson's, I'm trying to eliminate that. So I'm going to put in instead a 1/2 teaspoon for a little more flavor of my own homemade chicken seasoning. But nutritional yeast flakes have a good flavor as well. The next thing that we need is a cup of gluten flour. So this is the Vital Wheat gluten flour, and I'll put that in there. And next we have a 1/2 cup of quick oats. So I'll put that in there. And the last two things here is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm gonna put those in there. Now this is best to mix it with your hand because you need to mix it really well, and the gluten flour is such a texture that sometimes it's hard to mix everything in correctly. So I use the little glove here, and then I just kind of knead it all with my hand. It doesn't take too long.
Wow, yeah, that's forming pretty quickly, isn't it?
It is.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, I was wondering what it'd be like because I didn't see a lot of liquid in there, but man, that's really moist. It looks like the
you're right.
zucchini. Yeah, zucchini really just sticks it
There's a lot of
together
water
pretty
to
well.
it, doesn't it? Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it cuts together pretty fast. It's very tasty. I've never had anybody that didn't like these.
Okay.
They're wonderful on a homemade bun or even a store-bought bun with lettuce and tomato and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so once it's finished mixing it, we're going to make our burgers. So I have here a tray with a silicone thing that will keep it from sticking. And I use this canning jar lid. This is a large, wide canning jar lid, and I put it down here. And then I just take a little bit like this and pat it down.
Oh, look at that. That's cool.
Look at that. And
yeah.
it comes out looking perfect.
Wow.
It looks like commercial made, right?
Yeah, it does. It's such a simple tool, but man, that's effective.
It is a simple tool. And a lot of people, I don't know why a lot of people don't seem to know about it, but they say to me, how did you get those looking so nice and uniform? I said, well, that's my little trick.
Yeah.
Just a jar lid.
You gotta remember that.
Yes. So there we are. This one made just 5 burgers. I actually made a 1/2 recipe here because that's all the zucchini that I had. But okay, there it is.
Wow.
Ready for the oven.
That is mouth-watering. Goodness.
And it's very quick and easy. I put it for 350 for about 20 minutes on each side. So one side, and then flip them, and then put it for 20 more minutes on the other side. And and then you're all done.
Awesome.
And they kind of puff up a little bit because of the gluten flour.
Okay. But that's a pretty quick recipe when you think about it. I mean, you just formed it in a few minutes there, and then 20 minutes each side and you're done. That's awesome.
That's right. It's pretty easy. And for summer, it's wonderful because it's, such a light, easy thing to do. And it's wonderful. Everybody likes that with some watermelon and some healthy chips and a potato salad or something. And there you got your meal.
Wow.
So are we ready to talk about the second pillar today?
Yes. So move more. That's the one we're looking at today, as well as the other two. So yeah, go right ahead, Lisa. That sounds great.
Okay. So the second pillar for living longer and having good immunity is to move more. And Americans are very sedentary, aren't we? Most of us. 15 and a half hours of our 16 to 17 waking hours are usually sitting, unfortunately, for a lot of people. You're sitting at your job, you're sitting down to eat, you're sitting in traffic, you're sitting doing whatever. We just sit in school and we sit all the time. And unfortunately, a third of our children and 2/3 of our adults are either obese or overweight. And of course, lack of exercise is a major contributor to all of the chronic diseases that we have in America too, like cancer and diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. Did you know that the Americans have the shortest life expectancies of any nation in the industrialized world?
Whoa, I didn't realize that. Goodness. Huh.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That we have such a short life expectancy. It's because of our lifestyle and our diet, mainly. And these 4 pillars that we're talking about today will hopefully reverse those if we can put those into practice. But did you know that professional athletes have even a shorter lifespan?
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't realize this either. But
it's kind of counterintuitive, man.
Well, studies have shown that extreme exercise can do more harm than good, often, because it produces high levels of free radicals and stress hormones in our body, and it suppresses the immune function, and it raises our risk to develop illnesses and diseases. And it creates excessive stress and damages our cells, and sometimes it breaks down the muscle tissues. In fact, often people who are in these big, long marathons, like the 50-mile marathon and things, they get sick right afterward because their immune system, their body is just put under so much stress from what they've done, and then they often will get sick right afterward. But we do need to get exercise. We need to get the right amount of exercise. So what kind of exercise is the best? Do you have any idea?
Well, I've heard that there's been a walking trend in our world today. So that's what came to mind first off when you said that, walking.
Yes, I think walking is a good exercise, and that's probably my favorite. But actually, the best exercise for you is the one that you'll do.
Oh, I didn't see that coming, but that's true.
Well, so many people, are jump on the bandwagon, and then after a week or two, it's like, this is boring. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not a priority. But if you could just find something that you like and then do it and make it fun and do it regularly and have a play out instead of a workout, then that's what you need to do. So whether it's biking or swimming or walking or running or whatever, there's so many different kinds of exercise. Whatever hits your fancy and whatever you think is most fun, that's what you need to do. Because if you can do it regularly, you'll get the most benefit out of it. Now, I wanted just to say that rebounding is something that's really good for you. And a lot of people don't realize this. But when my kids were growing up, in fact, right about the time my oldest was born, one of our neighbors gave us a large trampoline. Well, I was a gymnast when I was young, so I love trampolines. They're just so much fun. And I didn't realize that the benefits of jumping on a trampoline, but at the time. But I jumped all the time for my own pleasure, and I had my babies on there after when they were even a month old. I would hold them real close to me, and we'd jump, just gently.
Wow.
But I have since found out that jumping on a trampoline, a big trampoline or a little one, we call the little ones rebounders, and that's what I have here at home. And I try to go on it 5 to 10 minutes every day. So it's not a lot, and it doesn't take a lot of time. But it positively stresses every cell of your body, which other exercises don't do. And it also strengthens your entire musculoskeletal system, and it helps with drainage of your lymphatic system. Now, your lymphatic system is different than your cardiovascular system, because your cardiovascular system has a pump, right? Your heart, and it pumps all of that blood through. But your lymphatic system has no pump. So how does it move? By movement. So if you don't move, then your lymphatic system is just sitting there with all of these toxins, because your lymphatic system detoxes your body, but it has nowhere to go unless you move. So that's why rebounding is such a great thing for people to do, and it's simple, it's easy. Of course, we know that there's lots of benefits to exercise, right? Like losing weight and feeling good and staying healthy and feeling better, living longer, and all these things, fresh air and sunshine. But do you know how the exercise makes you look younger and live longer?
I have no clue. I'm eager to hear, though. I'm eager to hear what you have to say.
Well, studies have shown that walking just 30 minutes a day, five times per week, can reduce your premature death by 20%. And if you walk even 60 minutes a day, that will reduce your 5 times a week, of course, that will reduce your premature death by 31%. So you can see how much exercise will add on to the length of your life. Now, have you heard about telomeres? Do you know what telomeres are?
No, I don't.
Okay, this is something that's kind of new within the last, I would say, 20 years. But I think it's very fascinating of how God has created us in amazing ways. But telomeres are the structures that are at the ends of your chromosomes that regulate your cellular age. So if you have short telomeres, the shorter the telomeres are, the shorter your lifespan is, and the more risk of death. And the people who have consistently high levels of exercise have longer telomeres and obviously longer life than the sedentary people. So it's really important to exercise, because that lengthens your telomeres, which makes you live longer, makes you look better, it's anti-aging, it's anti-inflammatory.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea. There's so much science behind how this benefits your life. Goodness.
Well, it's interesting how much scientists are learning just within the last 20, 30 years. You know, these things, when I grew up, nobody knew anything about these things. Nobody knew anything about your gut health, and the gut-brain connection. And now they're just learning so many interesting things. I think it's just fascinating. And I'm sure we're not even, touching the iceberg, because it's so much more to learn, but hopefully we'll learn it all someday in heaven.
Yeah, amen.
So another benefit that I like about exercise is exercising outdoors, of course, is because of sunshine. And of course, with COVID, studies have been done recently to find out the people who are the most susceptible to the coronavirus. And those people are the soda people. Have you heard of soda people? Probably not. Well, soda is an acronym. The S stands for seniors, the O stands for obese, the D stands for diabetic, and the A stands for African Americans. So these 4 groups of people, seniors, obese, diabetics, and African Americans, those 4 groups of people are the most susceptible to the virus. And do you know why?
Tell me.
Because they have the lowest vitamin D levels.
Oh, I see.
Seniors don't get out much. Obese people, it's too hard to walk. Diabetic people don't feel good. African Americans have dark skin, which is really hard for them to absorb the sunshine. So it's just hard for them to get the vitamin D levels that they need. But everybody should have their vitamin D levels checked. The standard requirement that doctors recommend is to have your levels between 30 and 50 nanograms per milliliter. But I've heard many doctors who I listen to online say that you have, even if you're like 30, that's still not optimum for your body. Of course, we're all different, but they suggest that even 80 to 120 is good to have those levels. And most people don't have even close to that level. Most Americans don't have that close to that level. So it's really important to get checked. It's really easy to check in a blood test. So if you can get your level checked, then you know whether you need to sunbathe a little bit more, whether you need to take a supplement or whatever to help you get your levels up. But they're finding out that the people who have the highest levels of vitamin D have the lowest symptoms. If they do get coronavirus, they have the lowest symptoms and they, survive pretty easily.
I see.
So let's move on to the next pillar. The next pillar is stress less. So we talked about eat well, move more, and stress less. So all of us know that stress can kill you, right? Stress can be so bad. It can make you sick. It can kill you. Stress is that tiger that seems like we just cannot escape, at least in this country. Just seems like there's so much grinding day in, day out, stresses that are caused by, causes us to worry and have anxiety and fears and responsibilities and toxic relationships and all these conflicts in, job demands and things. And that chronic stress is what's really killing us. Now, when you get stressed once in a while, yeah, that's okay. It's probably good for our bodies to be stressed once in a while, like when we, exercise really well and hard. We feel good about it. But the chronic stress is what we need to avoid. And the reason for that is because the stress produces elevated levels of adrenaline and cortisol, and those lead to all kinds of health issues. Not only health issues, but mental issues and emotional issues too. So when your stress hormones are up, your immune system is down. We don't want to have the stress hormones up. We want to have our stress hormones down so that our immune system can be up. So what can we do about that? Well, I think we need to take massive action to reduce our stress for sure. And for everybody, it might be a little bit different. But for me, it's to identify the sources of stress and then try to do a to-do list to try to eliminate those stresses in my life. I need to stop worrying and give my fears and my worries to God and just trust Him. He's in control. He knows what needs to happen. Some things are just out of your control, and so why stress about them and why worry about them when there's nothing you can do about it anyway, right?
Yeah.
Laughing and smiling is a good stress reliever. And of course, we talked about exercise already. That's a really good stress reliever. But did you know that singing also reduces stress? Studies have been done that show that an hour of singing reduces stress hormones and builds your immune system.
Really?
So next time you're stressed, you need to stop, sit at the piano if you play the piano, or even if you don't, and just open up your hymn book or something and just sing. That will really cause your stress hormones to go down. Being thankful is another good thing. We've been trying to look at what we have, not what we've lost. Be thankful for what we have. Sleeping is another good stress reducer. We need to sleep at least 7 to 8 hours every night. I know that's kind of hard for some people, especially those who are night owls. It's kind of hard, but I am not a night owl. But recently, in the last few years, I have learned to go to bed earlier. And I've learned to try to keep that schedule as much as I can. And my body likes it. My body likes it when I'm in bed by 9 and I fall asleep really quickly. If I wait till 10, if I'm out and about or something, and I wait till 10 and then I try to go to sleep, I have a hard time falling asleep. So I think that that's because our body likes to be in routine and to have our circadian rhythms working well. So why is sleep important? Well, as we know, some people have likened the process of sleeping like a dishwasher that just forcefully washes out all that toxic metabolic waste that accumulates during the day. It does its house cleaning, if you might say that way.
Interesting.
Studies have shown that there's increased cerebrospinal fluid going in and out of your brain. So your brain is detoxing. So it's really important to get all of those hours of sleep so that you can clean your brain and clean your whole body and all the systems from the day's work and the day's activities.
Interesting. Yeah. If I can be a little bit honest here, I remember back when I was in college and I did pull some all-nighters back then, I have to say.
Yes.
Man, the next day I just felt like every joint was aching like crazy. It's like I was run over, literally. But I can see how that's true because the toxins do build up and it does make you feel just icky if you don't get that
it's true.
machine washing time, as you said, during the night.
You need that dishwashing time. Yep.
Dishwashing time, yes, exactly.
And the last benefit that I want to talk about for stress relief is a weekly Sabbath rest. You know, God created us, our bodies and our soul and our emotions and our mental. We just need that weekly rest. We just need to set aside an entire day where we can just not worry about work, not worry about stressing about things that happen. For us, we worship, we spend time with friends, we spend time with family, we spend time developing relationships, we spend time helping neighbors, helping whoever needs to help. We spend time in nature, we hike, my husband and I hike a lot and walk a lot. And for us, that really helps a lot to relieve the stress of the whole week. And I think that was God's intent for giving us the Sabbath day's rest. I forgot one. I'm going to go back to this one too. Okay. Not that there's any particular order, but have you heard of forest bathing?
I have actually, really? Yes. There's actually, I've heard of people doing it as a form of therapy in order to soak up, I think it's negative ions and just kind of bathe in the greenery around you to help relax your nerves. So yeah, I don't know. I hope I didn't steal your thunder there, but
no, not at all, not at all. Yes, I mean, until recently, I had never heard of that term, and I guess it's just a fancy term for spending time in nature. But definitely, spending time in nature is a wonderful thing. It reduces your blood pressure, you know, and reduces your stress hormones, and it ramps up those natural killer cell activity. And like you say, the negative ions is just so healthy for us. Yeah. That spending time in the woods is just a really good thing. If you have woods, I suppose people who are in Arizona don't have woods.
They could do prairie bathing instead of forest bathing.
Maybe that's it. That's true. Well, let's move on to the last of the 4 pillars. So eat well. Eat well, move more, stress less, and now we're going to talk about love more. Studies have shown that people who are lonely and unloved and depressed are 3 to 10 times more likely to get sick and to die younger. So it's not just that we, you know, get sick for other reasons, but if we don't have that emotional component intact and healthy in our lives, then, you know, we're going to be able to tell that. We were created to love and to be loved, but of course we have an enemy that's out to trip us up. But we're so connected with our physical and our mental and our emotional and our spiritual that when one of them is affected, it affects all of the other ones. So it's just super important for immunity to have all of those in balance and all of them healthy. But often people can't love others because they're so broken themselves. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of people that are broken. They have a hard time loving others. So I think that one of the main things is, first of all, in order to love others and to love more, is to, try to get ourselves healed better emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So I like these 5 ways of connecting and healing ourselves. The first one is to smile and laugh freely. I know that it seems like such a simple little thing, but if we can just smile more and laugh with people, it actually, that ability and that willingness to just lead your life with this friendly tone just helps people. It boosts our own mood. It helps people to feel, loved, to feel appreciated, to feel affirmed. And that just helps them as well as it helps us. The second one is to express gratitude every day. And we talked a little bit about that in the other one about, being thankful. But just the ability to be able to express gratitude to people, it sparks joy in our own life, and it helps others to feel appreciated and noticed and valued. And that's what people just want to be noticed. They want to be valued. They want to know that they matter. And so many times we don't affirm other people.
Yeah, I was thinking about something along with that, Lisa. Often I think the affirmation that really goes the farthest sometimes is just a listening ear, to be honest. Sometimes folks are so caught up in the, how do you say it, kind of bullhorn at the mic type of world where everyone's expressing themselves, but there aren't very many people out there who actually just sit and listen, in my
That's
opinion.
true.
And I think that's real affirmation. Yeah.
It is. And it's a skill, because it seems like we always want to talk, right?
Yeah, no, it's
true.
true.
We don't always want to sit and listen. We want to talk. But you're right. And a lot of people want to be listened to. They just want you to hear them.
Yeah. Amen.
So that's a great one too. And then forgiveness is a huge one. Bitterness, resentment, and unforgiveness are the 3 worst destructive emotional states that just rot us and bring on disease and destroy our health. But forgiveness is something that we all can do and we all need to do for our own benefit, not necessarily for others, but although that is helpful too for others. But it doesn't mean that you're just going to ignore what bad things were done to you or condone them or anything, but it's a decision. It's just a decision that you need to make. It's not a feeling, it's a choice that you make to forgive other people that have hurt you. I enjoy Chris Wark. He is a young man in his 40s who is a strong Christian man. He has a website called chrisbeatcancer.com. So, and I follow him because I love his protocol in preventing cancer and also for healing cancer. And he has a coaching system, or a coaching business, I guess would be, but he has helped hundreds, if not thousands of people to heal from cancer. But he says on there that he has never yet seen anybody heal of cancer who harbors unforgiveness in their lives.
Wow.
So it's a huge component to healing.
Yeah.
And, he says you can do all of these supplements, you can eat super well, you can exercise, you can do all of these things, but if you harbor bitterness and resentment and unforgiveness in your heart, you will not get well. So I thought that was really interesting, how it really affects us, the unforgiveness thing. The next one is support and serve others. Of course, our purpose here is to serve others, and I love it because it takes the focus off of us and it focuses on other people, but it increases your overall well-being. It makes you feel good because you know that what you're doing matters, and what you're doing is making other people happy, and it makes a difference in other people's lives. So serving people and supporting other people, I think, is a huge one toward loving more. And the last one is participate in support groups. It's an inexpensive and highly effective way to developing friendships and relationships with people that might have similar goals to you. When I was a young mom, I led out in a young mom's prayer group. And, you know, it was such a wonderful thing to feel the support of each of those other moms. And when we had, you know, issues with our kids, we could talk to them and pray together. And so I just think it's a wonderful thing to be a part of a support group, whether it's a running group, whether it's a cooking class group, whether it's a plant-based eating group, or, you know, whatever is interesting to you. I think it's important to do that, to have a support group. And it builds relationships again, and it helps us to love more. So I just want, in conclusion, to list 5 things. I want to tell you about 5 things that centenarians have in common. Centenarians obviously have lived a long time. They have lived to be 100, and so people have studied centenarians to find out, what is it that they all have in common? What is it that makes them live longer and have good immunity? And they've boiled it down to 5 different things, and they all start with F.
Okay.
So the first thing is food. Obviously, we all have to eat, but what these centenarians eat, they are mostly plant-based, and they eat fresh food and nutritious food on a regular basis on the whole. They don't eat Pop-Tarts. They don't live on that kind of a diet, processed foods. They live mostly on plant-based diets. The second one is fluids. They drank mostly fresh water. They don't live on sodas. They don't live on coffee. They drank mostly fresh water. The third one is faith. They all had a relationship with God. They trusted God, and they had a relationship with God. And the fourth one is family. They all had a connectedness with their family and their extended family, which helped them to live longer. And the last one is function. They had a purpose to live. And I love this. One lady, she's 102 years old. She lives in Costa Rica. She lives to catch the next baby. She's a midwife. And she has delivered so many babies, all the babies in the village she's delivered. And she doesn't want to pass away because she has to be there to catch the next baby.
Wow.
So she has a function in her life, and so she lives long. The people who don't have function in their life or purpose in their life are the ones who eventually will probably die younger. So anyway, those are, hope those ways will be things that we can incorporate into our lives to live longer, to live healthy lives, to fulfill God's purpose for us in our lives here, among our families, our communities, and our churches, so that we can honor and glorify God in all that we do.
Praise the Lord. Thank you so much, Lisa. That's a real blessing to hear about how we can just do simple things that can really, make a difference in our lives. And I liked how you summed it up there with those F's there: food, fluids, faith, family, and function. That's so true. So yeah, we just want to wish you all the best too as you're transitioning, and we'll keep that new adventure in prayer as you're heading into that new chapter. But yes, this really has been a huge blessing, and I'll be sure to sum up everything at the end with the pillars that you mentioned. And we'll also have that recipe down on the comments there on our YouTube video. And I just wanted to introduce everyone to a little friend here as well. Want to talk about stressing less? Get a cat.
This is true. He's beautiful.
Yeah, he is. He's a tabby.
Nice.
So,
Very handsome.
I just had to show you that. So thank you so much, Lisa.
That's great.
And yeah, everyone be sure to tune in for our next episode, and we'll look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you so much. God bless.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.